neutral corner. In the neutral corner.
4.
Welcome, you're in the neutral corner. So, we just wrapped up a UFC fight night, Vera versus Sandhagen. Again, I've been down this week with the flu of some sort, so I didn't get a chance to make a preview of this. I will try to be better about that in the future going forward, of having previews of, interesting fights like this one. But I'm just going to get right into it. This one didn't turn out the way that I thought it would. I thought it would be more of a bloodbath than the chess battle it was. Not that I'm complaining. It is very interesting to see two violent styles clash and seeing what happens and who adjusts what. And, it seemed like Vera just, couldn't get going no matter what. And I know that he's a notoriously slow starter, and I know that, he really just kind of bides his time and picks his shots. But kind of like I said last week about Leon Edwards, I feel like Corey Sandhagen really showcased what it is to be a complete martial artist, mixing in the takedowns so beautifully with the striking, the timing, the switching of the stances, the movement, and then him not having to be set, to deliver strikes. And not everything has to be as hard as you throw it, or as hard, you don't have to throw it as hard as you can. And he understands that. And he used movement to give Vera a difficult time to be able to, track him down. And, combination punches are really what win fights. It's setting up the punches in order to land them, or kicks. And Vera just wasn't able to do that. He was only able to throw one or two shots at a time because the movement of Sandhagen was doing such a good job. And then anytime he would try to load up on a punch or commit or come in a little heavy, Sandhagen would shoot. And in the first two rounds, we saw him, what happens if he can get him down. I mean, he just keeps him there. And, the last few episodes I've gone about saying and complaining about takedowns and what you do with them and what matters. The first round could have been a 10-8, to be completely honest, with the way that he controlled him and just dominated. And, there were many fights tonight that were full of great ground and pound, great strikes. And that's not something you see all the time in the UFC anymore, is good ground and pound. And tonight we got a lot of that. And Sandhagen was just delivering tons of damage. And even though it didn't look like it on the face of Vera, he was. And now Vera was blocking a lot of them, don't get me wrong, but Corey was doing an excellent job. And, that's pretty much the story of that fight. I did not expect it to go that way. I expected Vera to get it done in the later rounds. Not that I really had a dog in this fight. They're just both really exciting guys to watch. And the momentum had been with Vera as of late. But, this is why I don't bet, guys, because anytime I pick a guy other than John Jones, they don't seem to be winning. But the title shot's next for Sandhagen. There's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt. I know that Cejudo's supposed to be fighting Aljo, but Sandhagen gets that next shot. There's no doubt in my mind, because truthfully, you can look at his record and say what you want, but in my opinion, he beat TJ Dillashaw. I think Dillashaw was awarded that decision. And speaking of decisions, they tried to rob him tonight. They gave a split decision victory to Vera when I didn't have Marlon winning a single round. Not really. Maybe the third round, but not really. I mean, Corey Sandhagen controlled everything the whole time. So that's my thoughts on that. What does Marlon Vera do from here? You got to rematch Sean O'Malley. I don't think that O'Malley needs a title shot, because I don't think he beat Piotr Jan. So, there's a lot that could go on, but I think that the best matchup is rematch Sean O'Malley and Cheeto, and then have Corey Sandhagen fight for the belt next. The co-main event was Holly Holm fighting I don't know what's her first name, but Santos. Holly Holm fighting Santos there, and I was funny because I was telling my girlfriend earlier that Holly Holm, as popular as she is kind of a boring fighter. She's kind of a boring fighter, and I'm not even trying to be mean. It's just kind of how it is, but not tonight. This is the most aggressive I've ever seen Holly come out, and she came out with the fire under her, and she came out pushing the pace, shooting for takedowns, and again landing great ground and pound. It was awesome. It was awesome to watch. It was like watching old style UFC back in the mid 2000s, and people just beating the hell out of each other on the ground. It was fantastic, and there was elbows and just all sorts of fun types of strikes, and I loved it. I loved it a lot. Not much else to say about it. It was pretty dominant. Obviously, she needs to fight for the title next. I don't know really how deep the bantamweight division and the women's division goes, so I think it's really just have her crack at the title again. She's ranked number 3. It's upwards for her. I don't really have a whole lot going on for the other ones, other than the decision, Macy Barber, the decision, the decision in MMA, the judging is crazy, and it's actually not just MMA. I'll get to that later, but Macy Barber, I didn't feel like she won the second or the third round, and just like in the main event, how one of the judges had Cheeto winning, and one of the judges had Cheeto losing every round, and that's how I had it. And then 2, it's just like, what kind of like how do you get such vastly different views of a fight from 3 different angles? It's crazy to me. But yeah, no, I didn't think Macy did enough to win the fight. She had more total strikes, but it's the takedowns, it's the control, it's they say that the UFC doesn't control the judges, but it's just interesting that it seems to be the favorites that the UFC are backing, the ones that they're pushing, always seem to get the nod on the decisions. I don't really have much else to say about most of these. There was one in the prelims. Yeah. Vergara versus Lacerda. Dude, that fight, amazing. Okay. Vergara gets kicked in his face in the first round, and literally for at least half the round was running away from his opponent. Back turned, running away from his opponent. It was comical. Extremely comical. And then comes back to TKO the guy in the next round via vicious ground and pound. Elbows. Tonight, like I said, was a fantastic night for ground and pound. It was super, super impressive. Overall, good night of fights. Really, just kind of happy with the last few cards, the last few weeks, because the UFC is known to stack some cards really top heavy, but the quality of the fights here lately have been really good. So I also watched the the boxing matches this evening. Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez, and the undercard fights, which again were fantastic. It was just a fantastic night of fights all the way around. Got a lot of stoppages in the undercard, but there was one fight that was a 10-round battle, and the judges, I have no clue what fight they were watching, but they robbed this poor young man, and robbed him blind. It was awful. One of the worst decisions. Even the commentators were just like pissed off, yelling and hollering in the microphones at the end. It was pretty crazy. But, you know, the judging, I mean, these are people's livelihoods, their careers. And in boxing, not so much. It is, yes, because a loss hurts a fighter very much so. But in MMA, especially because, you know, you got win bonuses, you know, and just because you are a piss poor judge, you're taking away a guy's win bonus. You're taking away food out of his kids' mouths. That's crazy. It's crazy to me. It's crazy to me that these judges aren't held accountable either. It's just like, oops, that's a shit judge. All right, well, come back on the next one. Like, what? No, these guys should be held accountable. Like, they should be able to have a record to go back and see, like, oh, this person has had 6 controversial decisions where no one else agreed with him. You know, this guy needs to be fined, or this guy needs to be, you know, reevaluated. Something. But it is what it is. You know, it's been a problem for a long time, and it's not going to change anytime soon. And David Benavidez and Caleb Plant fight. It was an interesting fight. And Benavidez started out slow, as he always does, but man, did he pick up the pace. Did he pick up the pace and beat the shit out of Caleb Plant by the end. I mean, by the 12th round, Caleb's face looked like he had just dove face first in a strawberry patch. I mean, dude, swollen, bloody, and then David looked like he just took a walk in a park. I mean, it's crazy. He went 12 rounds, barely had a mark on his face. There's levels to this game. Levels. And that's the next guy for Canelo to fight. David and Canelo, that's the one. That's the one. Those two are on, you know, I mean, Canelo's at this point now where he's proven everything he's need to prove, in my opinion. And if he wants to continue fighting, this is the fight next. Now you got to prove that you're, you know, the fighting champ, which he has, but, you know, this is the fight to make next, is him and Canelo. There's no doubt. So yeah, I know I just brushed through those, but there's kind of a lot I want to cram in here in a little amount of time. I'm getting ready to go out of town to go to Milwaukee to set the ring up for the gamebred boxing with Roy Jones Jr. and Anthony Pettis, Jose Aldo fighting Jeremy Stevens, Vitor Belfort fighting Jacare Souza, Dylan Kleckler, Josh Burns, Devin Cushing's on there, Cade Howell's on there. So, you know, it's going to be an exciting event. It's going to be in the, you know, Milwaukee Bucks arena. So, like, that's going to be so cool. You know, it's going to be one of the coolest experiences. I'm really, really looking forward to getting some interviews with some of these guys, any fighter really, but it will be great. I'm going to take my time on the plane and things like that to really try to producing content for you guys, whether it just be clips or reels or whatever the case may be. And I'm really, really looking forward to trying to do that for you guys and getting you some good quality content. You know, we've gone over what I think about the fights. Roy and Anthony, you know, Anthony's training hard. Anthony's looking really good. He's walking around like 200 pounds. The man's got 6-pack at 200 pounds. He's fast. He's explosive. He's flashy. Roy, you know, he's the old veteran. He's the old dog. It's his yard, you know, and he knows where all the booby traps are. So it's going to be an interesting fight. We all know that Father Time is undefeated, but, you know, experience is a hard thing to beat as well. And pure boxing, you know, I really think that, you know, people are sleeping on Roy. I think that they don't realize he's still, you know, he's still got something. He's 50. He's in his 50s, but, you know, Roy's still got it. And, you know, the Aldo Jeremy Stevens fight, I think that one's probably going to steal the show. You know, those two guys have fought before. Those two guys are fireworks. But then again, I don't know. Vitor Belfort, man, I'm not sure about Jacare's boxing skills, but I know Vitor's always exciting. So that's going to be interesting. I'm super excited. You know, Dylan Kleckler, we've had an interview with him. We've talked about him. We know where I stand on that and how I think he's going to shut, you know, Josh Burns' lights out that night. Devin Cushing, he's going to improve his record and stay and remain undefeated. And he's got a tough task in front of him. But again, kid's talented, kid's smart. I know that he's got, I know that he's got it mapped out. I know his game plan is flawless. He's going to get behind that jab, and he's going to make this guy pay with any counter shots that he can. And same with Cade Howell. He's coming in. He's going to represent Pensacola as well. I'm really excited for Pensacola to go up to Milwaukee and show out and show everybody what we got down here. And there's a bunch of other fights too, man. There's Pearl Gonzalez is fighting. Paul Daly is fighting. It's just going to be a great event, and I'm sure there's going to be no shortage of celebrities there. Again, if I could get an interview with just a celebrity in attendance, that would be amazing. So, I'm really excited about that. Really, really excited about that. So, honestly, not a whole lot else going on. John Jones, Stipe Miocic, that one got announced. As it gets closer, that one got announced for July. So as that gets closer, I'll do my whole preview on that. But we already know that I'm going to go with John Jones, and pretty much, why. He's the GOAT. He's just a calculator. He's a supercomputer. He's basically the Floyd Mayweather of MMA. That one loss doesn't mean shit. You watch the fight. It's not an accurate, it's not an accurate description or depiction of that fight at all. So, anyways, possible fight news on the horizon for me. Stay tuned. Maybe not. We'll see. Super excited about that. So, thank you guys so much for listening. I appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe. That's In the Neutral Corner on Instagram and Facebook. Silly Sci Guy on YouTube. In the Neutral Corner on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everywhere that podcasts are, I am there. Thank you guys so much. Godspeed.